guided by the fighter mentor. There are families that do not change when luck improves. They change when they stop wasting energy on what does not sustain them. When they realize that chaos does not enter only through the front door, it enters through the habit of leaving everything for later. Discipline inside a home is not rigidity. It is what holds a routine together. So it does not break each person from inside out. It is a silent agreement that turns scattered effort into shared direction. If this is making sense, leave a like, turn on notifications, and subscribe to the channel. In the third and final part of the story, the house no longer felt the same. Not because life had become easy, but because the family had learned not to let improvisation govern everything. It was Sunday. The street was still quiet, but the house already had a rhythm. The woman walked through the rooms, noticing the things that usually created Monday morning stress. She was not looking for perfection. She was trying to keep the next week from paying the price of the previous one. The husband adjusted a drawer that had been sticking for days. The 13-year-old girl reviewed her test notebook and marked what needed to be studied before Monday. The 5-year-old boy sat on the living room floor, placing his toys into their box without being told twice. It did not seem like a major event, but it was a kind of afternoon that decides an entire week. Mental health in that house was a daily practice. It meant not starting the week already overwhelmed. It meant creating space before pressure filled everything. It meant understanding that a tired mind does not improve through pressure. It improves through order. That was what the family had learned to build. In the first video, they learned how to stop chaos from starting on its own. In the second, they learned not to let excess enter without a filter. Now, they were learning how to sustain the household even before the next day arrived. Every Sunday afternoon, the woman did something simple. She made a sheet with 3 columns. What needed to leave the house, what needed to be ready, what needed to be protected. Nothing complicated, just a way to avoid throwing the week against her own body. The husband had a habit of checking his tools and work backpack before dinner, not out of paranoia, out of respect for his own time. He discovered that the next morning felt less difficult when the previous night had already solved half of the invisible problem. The teenager, who used to struggle constantly with her mood, began studying in short blocks, without attacking herself, without trying to carry everything at once. 20 minutes of focus, 5 minutes of rest, then another block. It seemed like very little, but for a mind that had spent years running from itself, it was a serious beginning. The boy learned a rule that felt like a game. Before going to sleep, leave his room ready for tomorrow. Toy duck in place, sneakers where they belonged, pajamas folded on the chair. He thought it was fun, but over time, the habit taught something bigger. The world does not need to become a mess every night in order to keep being the world. Discipline in that family was not harshness, it was precision. It was respect for what supports others without being seen. It was a quiet care of adjusting what was necessary before a problem to grow, the ability to remain attentive without recognition, and the maturity to understand that stability is almost always built through small corrections repeated every day. By the end of the afternoon, the house already felt lighter. Clothes set aside, meals partially prepared, materials organized, the weekly planner on the wall, and most importantly, no one was trying to solve everything with an overloaded mind. Focus worked exactly that way inside that home. It was not constant tension. It was staying with what mattered while everything else tried to distract. It was continuing to look at what needed adjustment until the right form appeared. And when that happened, the mind stopped running in circles and began to sustain a clear direction strong enough to move through the noise without getting lost in it. There is a great difference between moving and advancing. between filling hours and building direction, between being tired and being truly drained. Many people spend an entire day busy and still finish it without presence, clarity, or a sense of progress. Because real progress is not born from excessive movement, but from energy invested in what truly sustains the path. That night, after showers and simple dinner, the family did something that once seemed too small to matter. They sat together for 10 minutes without solving anything, without discussing tomorrow, without turning exhaustion into conflict. They simply sat. The mother breathed. The father leaned back in his chair. The girl finished a short reading. The boy fell asleep halfway through, his mind already light. That was the part almost nobody saw. The mind also needs restoration, not pressure, not excess. Enough attention to restore shape to what the rush of life has distorted. It is through this quiet care that the weight begins to lift. Thought begins organizing the path again, and what once seemed too worn down finds a structure to continue. When you protect what enters, you also protect what remains. When you protect what remains, the day stops feeling like a shapeless struggle, and what once seemed scattered begins to gain form, boundaries, and direction. Little by little, the mind stops reacting to everything and starts choosing more carefully where it places its energy, time, and presence. Mature discipline understands this. It does not force. It aligns. It does not trample. It preserves. It does not require noise to exist. It proves itself through what remains stable when everything around it tries to become excess. Breathe now. Slowly. Inhale, hold, exhale. Feel the mind soften a little. There is a quiet strength in those who learn to create less noise within themselves. It is not weakness. It is mastery. Those who master their attention stop living by improvisation, and that changes the way they face every hour of the day, because the mind no longer scatters itself across everything that appears. It sustains what matters, avoids useless reactions, and remains committed to what was consciously chosen, even when the environment tries to pull it elsewhere. And that changes everything. The day stops being a place where life happens against you and becomes a space where you can finally build without falling apart in the process. The difference lies in stopping the habit of treating every moment as a threat and beginning to treat it as building material. In that way, what once exhausted and fragmented you becomes a foundation for something more stable, clearer, and more truly yours, without requiring you to lose yourself just to keep going. Those who learn to align their own rhythm stop merely surviving the day and begin shaping it from within. When that happens, even ordinary tasks gain definition and stop feeling like a chaotic sequence of obligations. The body responds with less tension, the mind with greater clarity, and presence stops being brute effort and becomes a natural part of the path. What sustained that family was never motivation. Motivation comes and goes. What sustained them was something more reliable, the decision to keep taking care of what mattered, even on ordinary days. In the end, it was just a family, a house, a routine, and yet that was where the real change happened.